I would like to open with a beautiful question. What is art?
That's an interesting question, really. What is art? Yeah, I guess I always say that art is about freedom, the exploration of freedom. You know, sometimes in life, some things are bound uh, within certain timelines. For instance, you have a society that maybe is trying to set itself free or trying to create several level points, things like that. For instance, during the colonial period when people wanted their independence, things like that. And then so many things are happening, and then that independence comes, and then maybe there are crisis moments within it where people are not able to, for instance, I guess carry on that freedom in a way that is distributed among, let's say, population and things like that. And then it creates all these different bubble moments. There are objects which are trapped in time, there are societies which are trapped in time, there are consciousness that are trapped in time, things like that. And then artists who are living within that society or who are born along say, okay, I'm going to look at all that has happened within history, and I'm going to find ways in which I can unearth because in a way, we as artists, we are somehow like archaeologists or time travelers in a way. We somehow always anticipate that we've seen the future, we've lived in the future. And based on that, we want to go back in time and we want to somehow make certain subtle interventions that somehow reinvigorates the consciousness of people. And that's where art becomes important. That's where art is born. Art is not necessarily because at the time you made an object or anything, or not an object itself, but there are so many constellations and the object becomes one of it. So sometimes it's a process, how we go through the process of producing something. In that process, you're able to change so many things. There are class struggles, the economic situations, there are political situations, ideological situations, all these things, positions that maybe your work is able to touch in the process of art happening. So the question is, what really is art? Like you asked what is art, but what really is art? Is art when a phenomenon is made, or is the process of making a phenomenon? Or it's like, for instance, we're talking about red clay when I built this institution. It's when they building up the institution, you have architecture, you have poetry, you have like technology, because I have airplanes, trains, all these things. What is really artistic about this institution? What is art within it? Is the art the things that are put together, the constellation, or is it a process of putting the things together, the research, going to places, talking to people? So it's a very broad question. Yeah. And I think that's what contemporary art aimed for when it was birthed back in the 80s and all that. But as the 21st century has come along, we've come to realize that we're still somehow stuck to a lot of questions which were bound to the 20th century and before. And it doesn't really, because till date, if you're talking about, let's say, liberation struggles, like a lot of things only work here in the West. Once you move outside the West, then it's almost as if time stops. But for me, that's where art becomes important. Art, as I said, is about freedom. So it's constantly about how do we forge on in the world? How do we open up freedoms in places that we think that it might not possibly work? But it's a negotiation. So you have to take the conditions that exist in those places, the sensitivity and everything, and then you have to work along with it.